Hello, welcome to Economics in Short. That is Economics in 5 minutes. Today I shall portray a picture of income and wealth inequality in India, which would provide a clear and crystal economic scenario that persists in the country. Out of 140 crore of population, only 100 Indians possess 7% of the wealth of the total world. That comes about to $1.1 trillion. Whereas, on the other hand, out of 140 crore of population, 80 crore receive free ration from the government for their day-to-day sustenance. As per Forbes Press Review, last year, the wealth of the 100 richest Indians was $799 billion. It means that the wealth of the richest 100 Indians have increased by 40% in 1 year. Within this last year, the income inequality can be very well studied from the fact that the top 1% possess around 40% of the wealth of the country, whereas the bottom 50% possess only 13% of the total wealth of the country. Further, the income inequality is reflected in the fact that among the top 1% of the richest person of India, that is, in number 1, it is Mukesh Ambani, whose net worth is $119.59 billion. Number 2, the second richest person in India is Gautam Adani, whose net worth is $116 billion. Third richest person in India is Savitri Jindal of OP Jindal Group, whose net worth is $43.7 billion. Look at the difference. Even there is inequality between the three richest persons of the country. The difference between the wealth of the third richest person, that is Savitri Jindal, and the number 1 and number 2, Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani, is to the tune of $70 billion. So the inequality exists even between the 1% of the richest persons in the country. According to the World Inequality Report 2022, India is the most unequal country in the world. That is, the top 10% holding about 57% of the total national wealth, and the top 1% of the population holding 22% of the total national income. On the other hand, the bottom 50% possess only 13% of the national income. The wealth inequality in India is, as I pointed out, is the deepest throughout the world, with the top 10% of the population holding 77% of total national wealth. The richest 1% of the Indian population owns 53% of country's wealth. The poorer half just a mere 4.1% of the national wealth. If we come over to the tax burden, there also we find the nature of inequality that persists among the different sections of the society, the rich, the poor, the middle class. That is, approximately out of the total GST income, 64% comes from the bottom 50% of the population. Let me repeat it. Out of the total GST income revenue, 64% comes from the bottom 50% of the population, while only 4% of GST revenue comes from the top 10%. The middle 40% contributes 33% of GST. The bottom 50% of the population pays 6 times more on indirect taxes as compared to the 10% of the richest category. This shows that how regressive the GST system is. The poorer bears the larger burden, whereas the richer class, they bear a very small burden. They contribute a very small amount. Coming over to another parameter through which we can explain the income inequality is the healthcare system. Many ordinary Indians are not able to access the healthcare they need. 63 million of them, almost 2 people in every second, are pushed into poverty because of the healthcare costs every year. So, in the healthcare system, also we can find the inequality in income and wealth. Another parameter is the state of food security and nutrition in the world. 2023, it is estimated that around 74% of India's population would not afford a healthy diet, and 39% fall short of nutrient adequate diet. That is, according to UN agency report data. Coming over to the latest global hunger index of 2023, the global hunger index score of India is 27.3, which is considered to be serious according to GHI severity of hunger scale. GHI rank of India is 105th in the scale. Solutions. Many economists have provided many remedial measures in order to at least not to do away with this, or to squeeze the gap between the richer and poorer sections. That is, the World Inequality Lab points that Indian tax system is regressive. I talked about the indirect tax, that is GST. Even when we come to the direct tax, also we see that the income tax revenue is greater than the corporate tax. So, many economists suggest a super tax of 2% on the net worth of 167 wealthiest Indian families. That would result to a revenue of which would be around 0.5% of national income, and that would create a valuable fiscal space to facilitate investment in social infrastructures in particular, such as education, health, and other infrastructure. So, what we want to highlight is that the report highlights how the union government continues to tax the poor and the middle class more than the rich. Approximately 64% of the total 14.83 lakh crore in GST came from the bottom 50% in 21-22. If we look at the income growth between 2016 to 2021, income of the poorest has reduced by more than 40%, whereas the income of the richest has increased approximately 40%. The income of the lower middle class and middle class has also reduced, and only the income of the upper middle class has increased very slightly from 2019 to 2024. India's 100 richest persons have experienced more than double increase in their wealth. But our government, Modi government, has been speaking about the doubling of income of the farmers, which had not taken place. In 1991, India had just one billionaire. And do you know who he is? He is not he exactly. The group is Aditya Birla Group. But by 2011, the number of billionaires has reached 52. And in the next decade, it has more than tripled to 162 in 2022. India at present has 334 billionaires. The Oxfam report points out that the wealth of India's richest 1% is more than 4 times the total wealth of 70% of the poorest section. 4,300 millionaires have already left India to settle abroad in 2024. This is according to Business News. The World Inequality Database provides us the fact that average share of the wealth of the bottom 50% was 12.29% in 61-70, and it has reduced to 6.12% in 2011 to 2022. The average share of wealth of the top 1% was 11.87% in 1961 to 1970, and it has increased to 31.55% in 2011 to 2020. This provides us a clear picture that how such a deeper inequality in wealth and income persists in the Indian economic scenario. Thank you very much.